Hi and welcome to my channel. I am Tammy Ozturk, the designer of badbobbin.com. Today I'm going to show you how we make our 3D flower hair bun holder. So it's two parts, two hoopings that makes it the 3D part, so the center pops out, and it's done in the hoop with two different hoopings. And we'll add the second one on and I'll show you how that's all done. Explain to you what kind of vinyls you'll need, what kind of fabrics or materials we can use. There's also a applique one with the mini. So I've added fabric in this one, and I've done one with a vinyl on the inside for this one. So it can be done different ways. And I'm going to explain to you everything that we need to do to make this cute little 3D flower hair bun holder, hair bun cover by badbobbin.com. Let's go to the cutting table and let's see how and what we need to make it. Okay, these are the things we're going to need to do our 3D flower hair bun holder, similar to our snap tab. Same design, we just made it bigger for our hair design. So we're going to need vinyl for the top part. You can use any type of vinyl. For this flower, I chose to do the holographic, and I'm going to do it in two different coordinating colors. And so my top petal here, and then I've got the main piece for it. So the first, our first hooping is going to be our top flower. You got to have this ready to go, and this will be 2 3/4 by 2 3/4. And on this one here, you can choose depending on your vinyl, depending on the backing of it, or how thick you want it, or how thick you're going to sew through. Once you get to the last part, this center piece needs to get stitched through 4 layers if you're going to do it this way. So I use a really thin felt, or you can use, some people use ollie. I don't agree with it. I don't like it. I don't use it. That's just my preference on that one. But Ollie Fun is one that's got a really thin backing, but it does not last, period. It does not last, and I can prove it. So, but anyways, so I'm going to do my top flower with a vinyl. And like I said, if you prefer to use a backing, you can do a really thin vinyl, or thin felt, or something that's going to last and not fray. You want something that won't fray. And then our other piece for the actual bun holder is going to be 4 by 4.5. And then this one you will need a backing, which I use felt. The reason why I'm using the felt, it's a little more coarse when it's in your hair versus the smooth vinyl. It'll just kind of fall out of your hair. So I use, plus less expensive than using double vinyl and everything. So I use a felt for the backing. And then we need a hoop. I'm gonna be able to get both pieces in my one hoop, and I'm gonna show you how I do that. So the hair main body will be here. I'm gonna do my first one up in the corner. I'm gonna carefully cut it out and keep my stabilizer nice, and then flip my hoop, and I'll do the other one. So I have both pieces I can do in the hoop, but they do come separate files. So you can do one on a 4x4 and one on your 5x7. And then we've got just our different scissors we're going to need. I've got my hole punch for the holes, my lighter for singeing around the threads and stuff that I need to. And then there's different hair picks that can be used. We have a metal kind. There's the pick with the balls on it. This have a little bit of design in them, and then there's like the plain. These remind me, and I think they're actually, I got them from the dollar store, I think, and they're actually candy apple sticks, or pop sticks is what these were. They weren't even really hair sticks, but they can be used as it. So they're different hair picks that whatever you choose to use, and the hole punch, or a regular, I guess, paper hole punch might work, or you can trim them out with the tips of your scissors if you want. It's got the little sewn eyelets around it to help with the stick going in and out and stitching around it. So we have all our things ready to go. It's very simple, very quick. 2 pieces, 2 hoopings, or I'm going to get them both in one, 2 different files. And I will see you at the sewing machine or embroidery machine, and we're going to stitch out our 3D flower. This happens to be flower number 2 in the design, and this is part 1 and part 2. See you at the machine. Okay, we're at the machine, and we have our pieces, and I'm using the 5x7 hoop. And what I've done in my machine is on part 1, which is the little flower, I have moved it in the frame on the machine all the way to this very bottom corner. So I know that this little thing's going to fit in this bottom corner. And if I want, I can just place it there because I know, and I've done it enough times that I know where my markings are. But I'm going to go ahead and run the placement line to show you. There is a placement line. I'm going to run that first, and then we will add our pieces. Okay, so I've run my little tack down here in the corner. So this is where you decide if you want to do a backing or no backing, if you want to do just a front and don't want to have to sew through so many different layers. And at this point, it's only going to sew one time, and that's attaching everything. I just kind of singe the threads in the back here just to kind of keep them tucked in. I'm going to go ahead and add my back piece and my front piece at the same time. I'm going to use a tacky spray, or you can go ahead and use tape if you'd like. So I center it on my back first, flip it over, and I'm going to kind of press it to make sure it's stable. It's in there, and it's kind of centered. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing with my vinyl piece. And I did a little bit of tacky spray on the vinyl piece, and I'm going to center it right there. Make sure it's tacked down. If you want to use tacky spray and you use tape, go ahead and tape the corners down on the front and the back. But with the tacky spray, it's pretty solid and not going anywhere. And it also, I have figured out throughout the years of doing this, using tacky spray on vinyl and stuff kind of helps it stay and not buckle as much. So that's another little tip on using that tacky spray. Even with fabric, when you lay it down and it's done with tacky spray, it actually stays a little better than just taping the corners or floating it on top and just kind of holding it, because then it starts shifting and it can buckle and pull in. So just a little tip on that part. So I'm going to put it back in the machine. I'm going to stitch out the last stitch, and I'm using black to kind of, besides show you on the video as to where it's stitching, but I think it'll kind of give it a little detail and pop as well. So this will be our last stitch out for part 1. All right, and we are done with part 1. And we're going to take that out. Stop that. And I'm going to load the part 2 into the machine, and I'll be right back. Okay, so what I'm going to do is take this out first, and we're going to trim it around and cut it and everything and prepare it for when we finish towards our finish of part 2. So you can carefully tear it out. It's kind of pretty good that it's tearing by itself if you have a thin tearaway. This tearaway that I use is just regular tearaway from Thread Art. Some people ask me which one I use. I also do use the thicker tearaway, which is a kind of heavy, like this one here. It's heavy, like thick fibery paper. This one I will use if I know that things are really dense. And this one, gosh, I think I got it from Designs by Little Bee, but I don't think she sells stabilizer anymore. So this is the heavy, heavy paper kind, and then there's the thinner, regular that I get from Thread Art. So I have all my the tearaway is not in there. It's all taken off. And I'm going to cut and trim this. I'm just going to singe my little threads in there. And I'm going to go ahead and go around and cut this. So I'll go ahead and just do that really quick. All right, that's cut out. I cut pretty close, not right on it. I have just a little bit, maybe 1/8 of an inch left around the where the stitching is. and the back is trimmed and no threads hanging, so we're all ready to go. This will set aside until we're done with our next part, part 2. So what I've done is loaded it into the machine, and I've moved it, so I'm going to flip my, with the multi-machine I can flip my hoops. In a single needle machine, what you're going to end up doing when your hoop's in this way, you'll put your pattern down at one side, and then when you load part 2, you can load it all the way to the top of your other of it. So if it's in the machine this way on a single needle, put your design at the bottom and then move it up to the top, or vice versa. Have it at the top and then move it down to your bottom corner. So I'm just going to flip my hoop around, so it's now going to sew in this bottom corner again. And the first stitch, you can either have it as a tack down or a placement. I automatically know when I do my designing in the hoops, I know where my lines are. I've said it so many times, I'm sorry if I'm repeating, but I kind of know where my lines are, and I know how to set my vinyl in there without doing a placement. So I'm going to go ahead and just use my tacky spray and put my vinyl in. And I'm going to go ahead and use that line as a tack down to help hold my vinyl instead of a placement. But it's up to you. You can do either one. If you want to do it as a placement and then just back up and use it again as a tack down, that's fine, up to you. Just less stitching is what I think, and that I think that placement line or tack down line is better as a tack down to hold that vinyl if there's any major stitching to keep it from buckling. So there we go, we're all set, and I've got my vinyl in the hoop, and the design is ready to go. And pop that in. Let's see here. And I'm going to do the first thing, which is going to be the tack down. The next will be the little green for the leaves, and then it's going to do the black outline of the flower. And then I'm gonna, I have it on pause so that it will stop. I have my little hand, or since it's changing colors, it's gonna stop on you. So before you do the gold or yellow center of the flower, you're going to stop it, and we're gonna add our second piece to it. Here we go. Okay, and now we're ready to add our centerpiece. So we've got everything stitched out. We have our centerpiece. So the back is still going to be open. We're not finishing the back yet, but I am going to do a little singeing at the moment just to get rid of some of those threads hanging out. Make sure they're tucked in. A little spot there where my thread broke. And I ran out of bobbin. Oh no. So there is a way that this does fit, and you will notice like some have a little bit flatter edge, one's more rounded, another flat edge. So you'll be playing with it to figure out where it's at. It's up to you. You don't have to be right in the center. You can offset it if you want. It is up to you. It is your stitch out as to where how you want the center piece. The only thing we do want to make sure is that this is right in the center. So kind of, I'm going to go with kind of how the design, the petals are exactly the same. They're just smaller. So I'm going to actually do and match up my petals, and that way I know that it's going to line up right. And then I'm going to start, I'm going to tape this down. This is where I use my tape. I'm not going to use my tacky spray here. So I'm going to tape that down, make sure that it's secure and it's right centered. I used the same petals per each side, and I lined up the green leaf in between each one, and I taped it down. So that's how I'm going to do it. And then what it's going to do now is stitch out that little middle part of the flower, the yellow. And here we go. Perfect. So this is the part where it does going through 4 layers. So that's why I said some machines might have a tough time doing it because the center is a little, it's not dense, but there's a full fill stitch on that to have the center look nice. So I'm going to remove my tape so that it doesn't interfere with my outline stitch or my final stitch. So here's our 3D part. And you can always cut a little bit into these if you want to give the petals a little bit definition, but you don't want to cut too much because you don't want to get into the stitching line. So this is on here and it's on good, and it went through 4 layers. So the multi-needle is going to do that. I know that some people don't like to do their single needles with that much. So I'm going to use some tacky spray on my felt for my back piece, and we'll stick it to the back. Center it, a little bit of rub, flip it over, and we're going to press it down. Okay, so we're nice and tucked. It's not going anywhere, or you can tape it. It's up to you. We're ready to go. I know that all my petals are out of the way of the needle area, and we're going to put it back in other machine and stitch out our last part, and finish it off. There we go, last step, and we're all set. And if it's up to you if you want to use the same color bobbin as your top thread, up to you. I use white. It doesn't make that big of a deal. People won't see the back side anyways, but I'm using pink to kind of blend in with my pink vinyl. All right, and we have finished. Looks pretty good. We double check our back side, make sure everything worked good. It did, it's pretty good. There we go. Nothing flipped up on us or anything. Front side looks good, nothing got turned up or flipped up. We'll take it to the cutting table and finish it off. Okay, we're at the cutting table, and what I'm going to do is take it out of the hoop, remove the stabilizer. Okay, we've trimmed our threads and removed all the stabilizer and everything. So what I'm going to do next is I'll go ahead and cut around it, and it's about 1/8 to the stitch line to cut around. And we'll just start cutting. I'm trying to figure out which would be the best place to start so that it ends nicely. I'm going to start at the end here. All right. Yeah, we have it all cut around, nice, all around, perfect. No jagged edges or anything, so we're good. And the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to take my punch and I'm going to punch the holes in where we need to put the pin through, or our hair stick. And I'm going to use the 11 by 34ths, which is the biggest hole on here. If you have a hand punch, that's a large one, that would be fine too, something that's in here. Or I guess you can actually try, if you don't have a punch, to get the holes in here is to maybe use the scissors, small little snip scissors to snip around. The eyelet that's stitched is pretty strong, so it should hold. You just don't want to cut the threads. And I guess you can try a paper little hole punch, but I really don't think the paper one's going to work because you're going through the 2 layers. There we go, we've got our holes punched. And a little thread here cut out, so I'm going to make sure so that it doesn't unwind if I happen to cut the backs, is to just singe the back again. Just a little bit there, just to press those threads in, melt them kind of together so they don't unravel on you. So we've got our holes, and you can do whichever pin you want. The wooden one fits through just nice. And we've also got a nice metal one, which this one kind of matches the flower a little bit, so we can do the nice one. Since I've used the hollow vinyl, I used a pink and a purple, and it kind of made it look really nice. So the little 3D, you can see that pops out off of the thing. You can kind of pull it up a little bit if you want it to. And this was with using the felt on the back, and that kind of gives it a little bit of flare, reflection on this type of vinyl. Or you don't have to if you don't want to sew through or stitch through that many layers, like I said. And there we go. We finished off our, this is the 3D flower number 2, the hair bun holder. So this is flower number 2, and there are many other flowers that we have that we've done. So we have the sunflower, and that has the butterfly. We have the Mickeys, and then these are the other designs. There's also a daisy, one more design, which is a daisy that I haven't done yet. And so these are pretty much most of them, and there's a bunch of other, these are the 3D group. And then there's the plain, flat, one-dimensionals of a bunch of other different hair bun covers. But, so there's just one more, it's the daisy one, which I didn't do yet. But this is how we created and how we put together that 3D flower hair bun holder by badbobbin.com. And I hope you enjoyed the video. And remember, give me a thumbs up, subscribe. Any comments down below would be great. Anything else you want me to touch base on or show or make a video on, let me know. I need some ideas. And ring the bell. You'll get more notifications when I do make new videos. And I'm glad you're here to visit and watch, and hope you enjoyed it, and hope you go to badbobbin.com and purchase the design and make some yourself. If you do, it would be great to see those stitch outs that you do in the group for Bad Bobbin on Facebook. So thanks for watching. Meet you at the cutting table.